Okay, just prior warning before we get started. I know I'm in the habit of making videos that everybody of all ages can watch. And if you are planning on having your young children watch this video, this one might not be the one to do it. I'm going to make some remarks that are not for children. So just a warning. All right. I'll give another warning when we get closer to, but moms and dads, this one's for your ears only. Okay. All right, guys. Yeah, let's go. Oh, my lovely students. Thank you for joining me here on the FreeMelon Society once again. I'm Eli Martyr, and what we're going to do today is we are going to go over some techniques to help you remember your dreams. And not only to just remember your dreams, but to actually make them constructive and useful for you. So we're looking at accessing our subconscious so that we can make better use of our dreams to help us out in our lives, okay? So sit down, relax, get comfortable, grab some orange juice, grab some water, or grab nothing, I don't care. And, and we're gonna jump back into the secret classroom and get started on this one. Okay, guys? All right, see you in a sec. Okay, so dreaming, all right? We've got this faculty. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I'm just going to get through this as quickly as I can. So we've got this amazing faculty hidden away in our subconscious mind where we have access to the dream world, okay, or access to our subconscious. Now, this subconscious mind, it actually is responsible for the vast majority of mental operations that guide us through our life. Okay, it's the subconscious that is kind of like the meat and potatoes of our consciousness, and our conscious mind is really just a fraction of the subconscious grand storehouse of data, let's just say, all right? And so our conscious mind is fueled and powered by a whole bunch of energy from the subconscious, okay? So what that means for us is if we want to get better at remembering our dreams, A, remembering our dreams, and B, empowering our dreams so that they're constructive for us, so that they help us answer questions and whatnot, then what we need to do is we need to access the subconscious, okay? And prime the subconscious with enough repetitive cues so that when it comes to remembering your dreams, those subconscious cues come up when you're in the dream state and you can remember, okay? Or lucid dream, right? Which is just lucid dreaming being you just know or are aware of the fact that you're in the dream state, okay? That's about as much context as I want to give here before I just get into some of the material. So, most of this material I'm kind of paraphrasing and summarizing from a book called The World of Dreaming. I don't know if I have the book with... here it is. Okay. Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming by Stephen LaBerge and Howard Rheingold. Okay. So I'm summarizing and recapitulating from this book here. So, in this book, basically they've just... chapter by chapter, there's just a whole slew of different techniques, okay? Just different techniques to help you remember your dreams, okay? And obviously to lucid dream. So we're just going to go through a bunch of them. Yeah? Sound good? Okay. So before getting into some of those techniques, there's kind of like a pre-technique that is good to get familiar with. And what this is called critical state testing, okay? Critical state testing. What that means is you're encouraged to consciously become hypercritical of various moments in your waking life. Be critical of the world around you. Criticize it, examine it, let the moment sink in, and criticize it. Question whether you are in fact dreaming at that moment, okay? So you have various moments during your waking life. You wake up, you brush your teeth. Hopefully you don't get a cup of coffee. Maybe you feed the kangaroos, and then it's off to work. Okay, you spent some time at work, you finish work, head off to the gym, and then you're back home, play with your wife and kids, okay? Whatever your routine is. So at different points during the day, what you would do is you would just, well, you don't necessarily have to stop what you're doing, but mentally just take a pause and criticize and say, am I dreaming? Okay? And look for cues and clues around you that you are in fact awake. Now, the way you can test whether you're dreaming or not is to try to do something that's kind of impossible in physical reality. So if you can take your thumb and stick it through your body, or you can stick your finger and stick it through your hand. If you plug your nose, can you keep breathing? If you dunk your head underwater, can you still breathe? All of those, sticking your head underwater is probably a difficult and socially unacceptable test to do when you're in the middle of your office at work or wherever it is. That one's a bit more difficult, but just discreetly trying to put your finger through your hand, yeah, that's a lot more covert. So probably better idea to stick with that one. Or the breathing, trying to breathe with your nose plugged. So those are little tests that you're criticizing your reality and making sure that you're not dreaming. Okay. Now, the idea is to prime your subconscious by doing this repeatedly so that it'll more likely show up in your dreams. See, when you dream, okay, very often what's happening is in your dream are things that you do in your waking life. Okay, let's say you go to work during the day, okay, that's a habitual routine. It's very likely at some point that you will have dreams about working because you do it all the time. So things that you do in your life are mirrored back to you, are replayed back to you as themes in your dream, okay? Particularly ones that are done often enough, behaviors that are done often enough, right? So if our task is to remember that we are dreaming, then you would want to get into the habit of being critical while you're awake, so that when you do start dreaming, the likelihood of you being critical of your dream state is much higher because you're practicing doing that in your waking life. Does that make sense? Right? So you practice in the waking life to gain access to your subconscious by way of repetition, because repetition is how we access the subconscious, right? It takes notice of things that you do over and over and over. And once that happens, now you're more likely to do that in your dream state, okay? So that's how that works. So that's called critical state testing. You should do a critical test maybe 5 to 10 times throughout the day, okay? If you want to empower your chances of remembering your dreams or having lucid dreams by the end of the week, or by the end of 2 weeks, or that day, or whatever it is, okay? There's the inducing dreams method, and this method was derived from the teachings of a Master Lawapa of Afghanistan, okay, apparently. And his teachings were introduced into Tibet in the 8th century by a guy named Padmasambhava, who was the founder of Tibetan Buddhism. And these are some of the same teachings that were compiled in his manuscript called Yoga of the Dream State. Okay, so the next technique is called the Power of Resolution technique, okay? And so there's a couple steps to the Power of Resolution technique. The first step is to make constant reminders to yourself throughout the day that what you're experiencing in your physical reality is a construction of your mind, okay? That's step one. Seeing the world around you and also being critical of it and giving yourself a mental note that everything you see is being filtered through your own mind and is being colored by your ego before it gets imprinted into yourself as an experience that makes up you, the individual. So everything is being created by your mind, right? Your experiences. You also want to make special note that your dream state is no different. Your dream state is also a creation of your mind, just like your waking state. So by giving yourself that reminder that these two states are both equally creations of your mind, right? That they're both just different aspects of your wakefulness, of your conscious awareness, just dwell on that, okay? It's kind of the energy flows where attention goes type of thing, right? Give it thought, give it attention, okay? And let that sentiment kind of marinate in your being. Okay, so that's the day practice in this power of resolution technique during the waking hours. And then right before bed, sit down for quiet time of maybe three minutes or so and make an internal firm resolution that you are going to remain conscious of the transition into your dream state, and that you resolve to have a seamless, unbroken stream of consciousness that takes you from the waking state to the dream state. Okay? And also that you will comprehend the dream state. That's just what you would do in the 3 to 5 minutes before bed. Okay? That firm resolution. And then during the day, you're doing the first part of this that we just went over. There's so many of these techniques. There's the intention technique. I'll go over that really quickly with you now. During the very early morning hours, or if you wake up in the middle of the night or at some point very, very early in the morning, okay? Anytime early in the morning, if you wake up, before you go right back to bed, the first step is setting the intention that you are going to remember your dreams and cultivate a feeling of expectation that it's going to happen. Okay, so expect that it is going to happen. There's no other possible results besides success. Okay, it's a firm resolution. So make that intention and feel the expectation that it will happen. Okay, so that's step number 1. When you wake up really early in the morning or in between sleep episodes during the middle of the night. The next step is when you do lie down, what you want to do is actually visualize yourself. So create visual imagery of you in the process of remembering your dream in some dream scenario. So you're using your imagination and your visualization skills, okay, to imagine that you are actively experiencing right now, remembering your dream, a dress rehearsal, okay? You're practicing in your mind a hypothetical scenario where you are actually doing what you set out to do, which is becoming lucid in your dream, okay? So you're just creating that imagery when you lie down, okay? So that's the second step in this intention technique. And the third little step to this is with what you're visualizing, what you should also do is you should also visualize yourself performing a dream action, like a particular dream action. When I say dream action, I don't mean any action that you could just as easily do in waking life, right? So don't make your dream action writing your name on a piece of paper, okay? Like, you're so boring. Like, why would you do that in a dream? You can do anything! So make your visualization some sort of dream action that you could only do in a dream. Flying, spitting fire, causing flowers to grow, making animals pregnant by pointing at them, producing honey from your eyelids. I don't know. Anything that is not possible to do here on planet Earth in physical reality. Then you visualize yourself doing that, and that will just help your mind get across the right idea that you want to be actively involved in the dreaming process, basically, okay? And the very last technique we're talking about is the mild technique, okay? Or mnemonic-induced lucid dream, MILD. What is a mnemonic? A mnemonic is some sort of aid that helps you remember to do something in the future. So this technique is premised on the recognition that successful lucid dreaming is contingent on your capacity to remember your intention to become lucid. So if we want to remember that we are trying to remember to be lucid, then you want to practice that in real life. You want to practice that in your waking state. Now, in life, a mnemonic is something, like we said, is something that you use to help you remember to do something. So if you have a long grocery list, a shopping list, then a mnemonic might be a written down grocery list. Like a pad of paper and pen, and you write down your groceries and you take that with you to the shopping center, right? I know we have our cell phones and we can very easily just make a grocery list on our cell phones, but screw you. Okay, so we have mnemonics, right, that help us remember something in the future. But that's a problem. So what happens in the dream state where we are trying to remember something, but we don't have a mnemonic, right? We don't have something that we can bring into the dream world from physical reality to help us remember. So what is one to do? One is to remember two things. You want to have strong motivation and you want to make associations, okay? What does that mean? Strong motivation. This might be obvious, but if you want to remember your dreams, you actually have to want to do that, right? You can't fool your mind. Your mind, your internal intelligence, it knows what you are truly after. And if you're actually not interested or not motivated, there's no way to hide that. Like you won't be able to do actions and have any constructive result if you're not actually keenly interested and motivated. Okay, so you can't lie to yourself. So you need to be actually motivated and want to do it, right? Only then is the energy going to work. So you want to be strongly motivated, okay? I don't know what it is that will do the right motivating for you personally. What aspect of lucid dreaming or dream recognition is most exciting for you? Like what factoid interests you the most about what you can gain from dreaming? So whichever one of those are the most powerful motivator, then good. Because you want to be motivated. So you want to be motivated. And you also want to make mental associations. Mental associations mean you're making links to other things, maybe non-related things, to your original object of your attention, such that those associations, when they're thought of, will bring you back to the original thing that you're trying to remember. Let's say I want to, I don't know, later on this month, I'll be jumping onto Jillian Barry's show again, okay? Let's say I want to remember when I'm doing the show to hurl an apple at her head, okay? Then what I would do is I would make associations and I would think, okay, anytime I see people throwing baseballs or anytime I watch baseball, right, or see anything baseball related, I will remember the act of throwing, and then that throwing will remind me, oh yeah, I gotta throw an apple at Jillian's head. So that's an association. I can make other associations. Jillian will likely be very displeased if I were to throw an apple at her. So if I make an association between angry women and yelling, then seeing those, maybe I can make the association to how Jillian will likely respond. Such a silly example. I'm sorry, I should have used a different example. Yeah, likely how Jillian would respond if I were to hurl an apple at her head. So you would make these associations. Oh my god. You would make these associations and professional. And then it would be more likely that you reproduce that in your dream. So in order to do that, in order to do this mild technique, you have a prerequisite exercise. And basically what you would do is you would just have in your little notebook, okay, not your smartphone, in your notebook. In your notebook, you would have a bunch of targets written down. So different things that you might encounter during the day, okay? You might have a couple of targets for Monday, and your target would look like this. Every time I see a car, right? And then maybe under that, the next time I see a dog, right? That might be another target for Monday. And then you might have one or two more. Anytime I remove my shirt, anytime I remove my socks, any target, right? The idea is that you're trying to remember these cues of action for the day, for Monday, let's just say, and you are to perform a critical test at each of those targets. So we went through critical test earlier in this little lesson. So you want to do a critical test at each of those marks. And you would do that for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday as well, make up different targets, do a critical test at each of those targets. Yeah? The actual steps to the mild technique, it's similar to some of the ones that we did before, okay? So step one would be just to resolve to recall your dreams before bed, same as before. And in your resolution to recall your dreams, you're also telling yourself that you intend to wake up early, if not in the middle of the night somewhere. I mean, I'm not encouraging you to wake up in the middle of the night. I'm just saying you're telling yourself that if that happens, whatever you dreamed, you will remember. And you're also telling yourself, when I do finally get closer to waking up in the morning, I will also recall my dreams from the night before, or from the sleep episode prior to. Okay? The next step would be to actually recall your dreams. Okay? Now, obviously, that step is just contingent on your success. But if you do remember as many details as possible, and don't go back to bed immediately upon waking up, okay? Spend a little bit of time being awake. Like, get up out of bed, go to the washroom if you have to, grab a drink of water if you want, for maybe 5 minutes or so. Just mill around for a little bit, and then go back to sleep. And then same thing, do a reaffirmation of your intentions. And then the last 2 steps here really are just as you're lying down, same thing as before. And it's very similar. Just focus on your intention, visualize your success, visualize you doing things in your dream. And also remember, they make a point of saying you have to get emotionally involved, okay? Let your emotional self fuel your intention by adding excitement, okay? By adding that emotional flavor. Emotion is a powerful thing. How different is it if you tell yourself, I'm going to do something, versus telling yourself you're going to do something that you are deeply emotionally excited to do, that you really want to do? What's the difference between the two? Well, the second one is 10 times more powerful, right? Because you're emotionally invested. So find emotional investment in your intentions. So let the emotion, the power, the raw power, the fire of emotion, let that fuel the constructive building blocks of a thought intention, right? Of a thought form. So like the emotional fire fuels the thought form, right? The two married together, they result in a product. Much like everything else in creation, okay? You can never really escape these natural laws and principles, right? You never, just because that's the universe we live in. Mother, father, child. That's how it works. If you know how father, mother, child works, you've unlocked the keys to understanding a lot in the universe. It's really an amazing thing. So anyway, those are some of the techniques that you can use to help you not only remember your dreams, but to make your dreams more constructive. Okay? Parents, dads, moms, if your children are watching this right now, it's probably best to have them go elsewhere and do something else. Okay? So I'm going to just tell you a story. This is a little, I'm going to share something with you. It was not intended to be shared publicly by any means. Okay? I want you to please keep this in mind. So the stunt team that I work with, we're like family. We go back quite a long ways now. We've done everything together, worked together, partied together, been on all sorts of movie sets and TV show sets, and we've done live stage performances. We've traveled all over the world, done everything with these guys. And so we have our little Facebook group where just the group of us chat and, you know, have a lot of back and forth banter of a bunch of dudes who've become very close over the years. Okay, so it's guy chat, all right? Just dude talk. And so I've just given you this lecture. Now, one day when I was putting this stuff into practice, I was given a very strange result. And I left a message in the Facebook group of my stunt team telling them what happened on this day where I was putting these practices to work, and I was relaying the story of what my efforts produced in my mind. Okay? That's the scenario. All right? I was doing exactly what I've been teaching you here, and now I'm going to give you a story showing you what happens when all of that just totally backfires in your face. I'll just play this audio clip. This is how dudes speak with one another, how we joke with one another. This was never supposed to actually be public, but whatever. Excuse any crass or brutish language. You get it, okay? All right, guys. Later, guys. All right? I'll see you on the next one. All right? Enjoy. So, you guys might find this funny. Well, James might get a kick out of it. So, I was trying to do some auto-suggestion, okay? and just constantly suggest to my subconscious, all right, just through repetition throughout the day, that I wanted to have a question that was important to me answered, okay? So I just wanted some information. So I'm like, okay, you just go to the source, then program in some constant reminders that you're going to have a dream that's going to help you answer this question, okay? So I'm doing this throughout the day to see if I can improve my chances of having a dream that helps me answer a question, okay? So, and of course, you're dealing with your subconscious, right? And your subconscious is that part of you that's connected to the HTML code of the universe, all right? So it's just that source of everything and anything. And so your subconscious is connected to that field. So this is why you can get answers to virtually any problem by consulting your subconscious, okay? If you can access it through auto-suggestion or other means. In the last several years, I'm trying to ennoble and sublimate my thinking, my thoughts, and my philosophy on life, okay? So, you take pride in striving to become a better person in that regard. So, you can imagine my humiliation, utter humiliation, when I end up getting to sleep and excited and expecting that this dream is going to answer my questions, only to discover that nature, God, your subconscious, however you want to frame it, they must have a sense of humor. Either that or they don't seem to take your concerns as a mere mortal seriously. And when poked and prodded for answers, the subconscious, I guess, can sometimes respond and just amuse itself. And so what I ended up dreaming was me furiously finger blast some woman and rubbing very vigorously her, and it was causing female semen to spray in every direction violently, kind of like a watermill. If you have a watermill, a big wheel and the bottom portion is collecting water, all right? If a wheel like that were to spin extremely fast and you'd have water spraying radially in all directions, that's what was happening. And this was happening while I was lying down and she was on top of me. And, there was sweat streaming from her face, and it's just ridiculous. And so I woke up from that, and I just with a look of confusion, staring at the ceiling, I'm like, what? That was completely unproductive in answering anything. That was the furthest departure from any constructive dream that I could have possibly. It was just so like, what the? And all I can see is James's, face, just kind of like slow clapping and laughing. It was like, yeah, good job, Martyr. It's like, oh my God, so embarrassing.